What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. It's the last Raw in the poor, pathetic Performance Center. But you know the WWE will do its best to hype SummerSlam, right? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia analyzes the 17th August edition of the Red Brand and looks at the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including, unfortunately, we got bad news as Goldberg is in the WWE for the next 2 years. However, AEW has a big interest in him. Nia Jax doubts the investigation of Velveteen Dream. Matt Jackson mocks Randy Orton. Vince proves he is completely out of touch, and much more. Now, instead of saying be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, I want to thank you for 900,000 subscribers. Again, the channel can't be what it is without you guys, and thank you so much for subscribing and supporting throughout the years. We're now just 100k away, well, actually 99k away from 1 million subscribers. That's just incredible. But as always, we won't waste your time recapping the matches, but we will take a look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly from last night's show. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Apollo is getting better on the mic. Now, the current United States champion Apollo Crews has a lot going for him, but despite undeniable charisma, his microphone skills have been questionable at times. While part of the blame rests with the WWE's lame scripts, there have been problems with his execution and delivery. And while there's little hope for the WWE scripts improving, Crews has definitely improved his microphone work, and it's an excellent sign for one of Raw's hidden gems. Apollo Crews may not be main event material, well, that remains to be seen, but the WWE should continue pushing him as he's got it all in the ring, and now he seems to be heading towards having it all on the microphone. Number 2, Randy is Raw. Randy Orton continued to shine last night as Raw's number 1 heel, predictably punting Mr. WrestleMania into next week. It's funny how he got right back up though. Now there's no getting around that Orton is at the top of his heel game, and with Brock Lesnar still busy counting his cash, Raw needs a strong opponent for Drew McIntyre. To be certain, Orton has benefited from some good material, taking out legend after legend, and his impact on Raw's ratings is questionable, but nevertheless he's putting in the work, something he's known for not always doing, and it's showing every week on television. Number 3, Asuka and Shayna vs the Golden Role Models was a damn good match. The WWE's women's roster may not be booked properly, but the match between the Golden Role Models and the impromptu team of Asuka and Shayna Baszler showed that the WWE women's division has plenty of talent. Now, we won't ask why the WWE feels the need to put all the gold on 2 people, but the Asuka and Baszler team would make great tag team champions if the WWE choose to put them together. Whatever the long-term plans are, the 17th August match was fantastic and arguably one of the best women's tag team matches of 2020. Number 4, Baszler's badasses. Is Shayna Baszler bringing in some friends from NXT to shake things up on Raw? Well, that may be the case after Baszler's NXT partners in crime Marina Shafir and Jasmine Duke showed up to compete on Raw Underground. Raw Underground continues to be a work in progress, but this threatening trio could carve out a niche on Underground. And finally, putting some heat in the tag division. Despite the stupid who poisoned Montez Ford angle, the WWE has done a remarkably good job building up the program between the Street Profits and the Andrade and Angel Garza team. Last night's backstage brawl between the two was brief, but added some heat to a tag team division in much need of some excitement. But that was the good. What about the bad? As number 1, Mickie James' return made Tatanka's more memorable. Not since Native American Tatanka returned to the WWE in 2005 has the superstar's comeback looked so pathetic. Mickie James had a great WWE career, but it's been clear since her 2017 return that she's being used to put other wrestlers over. Now that James is back from her ACL injury, it looks like she's headed for some of the same, putting Natalya over and finding herself in the Dead on Arrival program of Lana guiding Natalya's career. If anything, James would be better off tagging with somebody and competing for the Women's Tag Team Championship. But if it wasn't to make her return look limp enough, she loses her returning match by countout. Number 2, Mustafa Ali. A bull dropped hard. Where do we begin with Mustafa Ali, the man whose seeming flight towards the main event was cut short in 2019 thanks to the injury that sidelined him from last year's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view? Well, it did at least open the door for Kofi Mania. Mustafa did have a few opportunities last year, but the WWE quickly soured on him, changing his name to Ali and sitting him on the sidelines for over half a year. If this doesn't make it clear the WWE has no idea what to do with him, then just look at his career on Raw, where he's become the Red Brand's resident jobber to the stars. Ali has serious in-ring talent, a good look, and lots of fan support. With the WWE struggling to find its way in the ratings, it makes no sense to pass over a potential superstar. Number 3. Predictable plotting. Another legend bites the dust. Farewell to Shawn Michaels, the latest WWE legend to eat a punk kick from Randy Orton as his 2020 Legend Killer campaign continues. Now, unless this was your first time tuning into Raw in 2020, chances are you weren't surprised when Orton RKO'd Shawn Michaels and proceeded to kick the Heartbreak Kid's head like he was in a penalty shootout. Fans get that Orton is more dangerous than ever, but it's quickly become obvious what is going to happen every week when a retired wrestler shows up. The WWE can certainly do much better, especially on this go-home show. Speaking of go-home show, what was this, a go-home show or go-away show? Although pay-per-views don't mean as much as they once did for the WWE's coffers, it's still important to promote its shows, especially SummerSlam, its second biggest show of the year. This week's show was surprisingly flat, and while the WWE pushed its SummerSlam matches, they did so in such a lackluster way. There was nothing about last night's show other than the good we mentioned earlier that commanded the fans' attention. And unfortunately, it reflected what seems to be the WWE's policy that fans who are going to watch its pay-per-views will do so regardless of WWE programming. Number 5. Retribution have gone from a big threat to a bit of a joke. Or sure, the WWE is still uncertain with how it wants to book Retribution, as seen by the company taking the play out of the New World Order's 1996 takeover of the WCW production truck, not to mention DX doing the same 10 years later. The WWE used the Retribution storyline for Drew McIntyre to rally the locker room, but the group has been about as malicious as a group of puppies. Well, puppies that can carry cinder blocks. And number 6, a grade Z celebrity. The Bachelor's Demi Burnett appeared on Raw, a great example of Vince McMahon's continued obsession with bringing in grade Z celebrities to somehow enhance WWE programming. With its ratings continuing to plummet, Vinnie Mac is likely going with what's the worst that could happen approach, as fans and wrestlers who complained about the dancers on Raw Underground should ask why the WWE has Burnett on TV acting like a stereotypical blonde bimbo. This did absolutely nothing positive for the show, and unless Burnett spikes the ratings, let's keep her on The Bachelor. Now, there was no downright ugly, but Raw was a complete dog. The WWE could have done something. This is the last show that they're going to have in the PC. Okay, we're not saying burn the performance center down or anything like that, but make some destruction, do something. Get us absolutely hyped for SummerSlam. But what did you guys think of Raw? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news, as our first story looks at Nia Jax responding to WWE's Velveteen Dream investigation. And probably for the first time, we agree with Nia Jax. Fans and wrestlers are still wondering how thorough the WWE's investigation of the speaking out allegations against Velveteen Dream were. According to Triple H, the WWE looked into the accusations, and the game noted that the reason for Dream's absence from NXT was not due to the speaking out allegations, but due to his recent automobile accident. Helmsley spoke with CBS Sports about the accusations against Dream, saying, "You look into them the best you can and you find out what there is and what isn't. In this situation, Dream was also involved in a car accident. That's what took him off TV. In the moment, all this other stuff happens, and you look into it and you find that there's a situation that people bring to everyone's attention. You look into it and find that it is what it is, and there's nothing there." Nia Jax went onto Instagram to comment on Helmsley's interview, responding with a series of clown emojis. While it can be argued that Jax's response is ambiguous, it's more likely a reflection of other people's opinion that the WWE may have glossed over its investigation. Next up, Goldberg in for 2 more years, and AEW has big interest in him. And Bill Goldberg is still a big draw in wrestling, despite the criticism he gets for his limited in-ring ability. When All Elite Wrestling first started, there were rumors of them bringing in Big Bad Bill into the promotion, and recent comments by Jim Cornette have added some details to the rumors. Speaking on the Jim Cornette Experience, he revealed, Goldberg was huge on Tony Khan's wanted list. He wanted Goldberg to come out and do the streak over again. I mentioned how much you think he's gonna charge for a 30-second job match. Probably the same as a main event pay-per-view match. Now unfortunately, AEW might not be able to use Big Bad Bill just yet, as he revealed he's still under contract with the WWE. Appearing on the Pop Culture Show, the WWE Hall of Famer noted, "I am contracted with the WWE for the next 2 years through 2022-2023. I've got 2 matches per year and I've exhausted posted my commitment quite early this year on April 5th with WrestleMania under these really weird circumstances, but I've got some really interesting projects right on the cusp. As you know, in the entertainment business, right now everything is on hold. We got a lot of cool things that people are going to find out about soon. My WWE commitment is still going strong. I'm 53. I never would have imagined it, especially making fun of Ric Flair for doing it in his early 40s. Oh dear, looks like we still got a number of botch-filled matches with Big Bad Bill. Or if they aren't going to be botch matches, then they'll certainly be squash matches. In this kind of scenario, I would really like for him and Matt Riddle to actually face off, and for him to put over Matt Riddle. But since we've got at least 4 matches with the big boy, who would you like to see him face off against? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Matt Jackson mocks Randy Orton. After Randy Orton made fun of Matt Jackson's Instagram video of him performing on Dynamite, fans expected a response from Jackson, and they got one on the latest episode of Being the Elite. During the video, Matt could be seen on the phone speaking with Jake Cutler about the Bucks' 50+ seconds 50+ segment, where they jokingly tried to build up their 50 and over demographic. Jackson suggested to Cutler,
"Brandon, is that you? Hey man, you're nerdy AF. So do you think you can film something for 50+ with 50+ this week?" "Yeah, I don't know."
And Cutler said something unintelligible, leading to Jackson adding,
It's just gotta be something boring, slow, and plotting. Yeah, it's a good idea, but I don't think WWE's gonna license out a Randy Orton match. You come up with something? Okay. Great. Thanks.
There's no getting around Orton's plodding style of matches, and while it's helped Orton stay healthy for most of his career, it's rare when fans can say they've seen something new in a Randy Orton match. But we have a feeling that this won't be over and Randy will be responding soon. He always likes to get things going on social media. And finally, Vince proves he's completely out of touch. Last but not least, during his recent appearance on Ryback's podcast, former WWE superstar Rusev gave another example of how Mr. McMahon misses the mark when it comes to understanding who the fans like. You may recall the wildly popular Rusev Day segments that led to Rusev being cheered by the fans and questions arising when he might get pushed in the light of fans' hearty response with Rusev Day chants. But according to the Bulgarian Brute, I had a conversation with Vince and he told me that with the Rusev Day, they were just mocking me. They didn't mean it. In my mind, I knew it wasn't true. They started putting my segments early so the Rusev Day chants would go away. I was not even supposed to be on WrestleMania the year I lost to Jinder. While he's currently busy with his Twitch stream, a return to wrestling would give him a chance to prove just how over he can be with the fans. But there you have it guys, the good, the bad and the downright ugly from the 17th August episode of Raw, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors. Again, thank you so much for 900k subscribers, and be sure to follow us on social media, where on Facebook we post exclusive lists. But as always, I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.